Hello and welcome to Educami. Here we will study something history related to the prelims and how to remember some of the facts in sequential ways without putting so much of the burden on the learning effect. So some tricks required in order to arrange the facts in chronological order. And it's a very wrong understanding on the part of a student that history is a junk of the facts and it's very difficult to remember it. There is some mathematical arrangement required in order to understand the chronology of history. And if you try to learn by simple fixing the time, it would be difficult for you to arrange the facts in history. But whenever you learn along with the concept, that will make the task easier. So I will give you some of the examples that how you can remember history in a very chronological order at the same time at the point of understanding level, so that the entire and the vast syllabus of history can be covered in a very small span of time. So summarizing, we know that as per the pattern of the prelims examination, we have seen the question from ancient and medieval India. The political configuration is comparatively less, and most of the focus are there in terms of art and culture. And second important domain is modern Indian. So whenever we try to study art and culture as a separate domain than the ancient and medieval, that look very difficult. So my suggestion to you people that whenever you go studying the ancient and medieval in the chapter wise in the historical perspective, that is the chronological order, then and there you must study the art and culture. Suppose we are studying the Mauryan art. So along with studying the Mauryan period, you must study Mauryan art. Otherwise, the tricks that sculpture should go on one line, that tricks little bit more worrisome compared to that what we study in the Mauryan period, we can go ahead with the formula. So I am giving one example that how to understand the art and cultural perspective of the Mauryans. In the chapter itself, you just arrange what are the type of the Mauryan art. And every classification was based on 2 points, that is popular art, that is practiced by common people, and along with the art that is under the patronage of a state, that is a state art. So while studying the state art, we see there are many, like we have the rock art, then we have the pillar, cave, and then potteries, that is NBPW. These things we will come to know while we study the chapters of the Mauryan Empire, that what is the basis of material culture, and the NBPW, northern black polished ware, and of course stupa. So if you understand what is the meaning of all these things, and then some pictorial representation. Suppose we are discussing the Sarnath pillar. Sarnath pillar, there are 3 parts of the pillar we know. First, very simple and basic ways to travel in the art and culture. This is called shaft. This is a base, and this is a shaft. This is a base and shaft, and this is called capital. The capital of Sarnath pillar is very artistic and very articulative. See, The capital was actually configured like this, that there is inverted lotus and large strip over it, and then 4 crowning lines sitting back to back. So on this strip, there are 4 animals: bull, then separated by 24 spoke wheel, then horse, then separated by 24 spoke wheel, then elephant, then separated by 24 spoke wheel, then lion. BHEL, bull, horse, elephant, lion. BHEL, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited. This is the arrangement, and this is in circle. Suppose in examination you don't find BHEL, possibilities is that HELB, horse, elephant, lion, bull, because it is in circle, that can be started from anywhere. But the simple formula of Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, that will serve the purpose of finding the order of that. So such type of the tricks, such type of the interesting episodes will make you make you understanding very easy in terms of understanding the art and culture also. So pictorial representation is very much required, not as a picture that could be presented directly copying from any 3-dimensional views, but the picture must be carved on the board itself, and it would serve the purpose of remembering the art and culture intensively, and I will serve the purpose in a much easier way. Suppose we take the stupa. Stupa. What are the parts of a stupa? When he says, this is how we draw the picture, I mean to say, you create the interest of understanding, and therefore your task of learning would be very easier. This is how stupa is basically designed. And once you know the various parts of a stupa, that is by the name itself pictorially represented, then you can see that how easy your factual collection would be, right? So this arrangement, you see, this is a platform which is called Medhi. In Buddhist language, different parts of a stupa was represented. This is called sopan, that is stairs. This is a Vedika, the 4 walls that surrounds the stupa. This is 4 walls that surrounds the stupa, right? And this is intricate called Toran. But the most important part of a stupa, here it is called Harmika. Harmika is the place where you can see, you can put anything related to the relics of Buddha, that is with hair, teeth, cloths, utensils, whatever the Buddha had used, you can place here, the relics of Buddha you place here, and thereafter the whole thing became object of worship, right? And this is Yasti, this is a Yasti, and this is called Chhatra. So thereby, this is a simple example that how you will remember the questions related to art and culture and different parts of the things, whether it is sculpture or iconography or architectural examples. The only way that you must present yourself interestingly and give intensive participation in drawing of many things, relevance of many things, and that way we can remember. Suppose take the example of modern India, where maximum question usually we have in prelims examination, modern India. Interest is very much related to curiosity and things to know, that why India was considered as so great, about the nostalgia of understanding the past, that will make the things very interesting for us. Suppose if you have make the timeline of certain event and then you put the various events in that timeline. Suppose you take the example, British East India Company came to India in 1608 AD, right? Major milestone. And then 1608, almost 150 years company was basically working as a trading organization, and trade and commerce was the chief objective of that company. After 150 years, there is a very much debated event called Battle of Plassey. You might have studied in schools. 1757. This company had transformed into political power. Look, East India Company never came to India with the objective of becoming political power, but it was circumstances in India persuaded company to adopt the political power. You have understood the sentence. Once you understood the sentence, East India Company never came to India with the objective of becoming political power, but it is circumstances in India persuaded company to adopt the political power. Then you have a curiosity, what circumstances? And once you got this curiosity, you will got to know the political situation in India at this point of time, how company day by day was growing, like controlling the economic factor, and then at the same time the political system of India was taken into control. And this is called transformation from economic power into political power. So when political power was utilized in exploitation of India to benefit England, this phenomenon is called colonialism. So political control definitely related to colonialism. So whenever we say Britain is an imperial country, whenever we say Britain is a colonial country, these two terms, imperialism and colonialism, was deeply related to same objective and same effect. Look at the sentence. Interesting. That will create the curiosity in your mind. That India became victim of British imperialism in order to serve the colonial interest of Britain. Understood? Means the political control was deeply involved in exploitation of India to benefit England. India became victim of British imperialism in order to serve the colonial interest of Britain. Okay, then you understand the colonialism, and this colonialism will continue till British will exit from India 1947. With respect to political power, there will be intensity of colonialism. Exploitation of India will increase. There will be various formats. How to extract maximum in terms of capital flight from India to England. The beauty of London was basically based on the bones and bloods of the Indian peasants. That is what actually you understand by the method which is called colonialism. So 1757 East India Company had become political power, and then 1857, 100 years this company had ruled India, and the 60% of India became British India. So how company trying to take the control of the position after that? After capture of Bengal, there was capture of Maratha, capture of Mysore, capture of Punjab, capture of Sindh, etc. So many, I told you 60% of India became British India. 60% of the Raja Nawab, they lost the state. We will discuss about the policies, and in due course of policies, many facts will come, and that will help you in remembering the facts on the spot, and that will make the task easier for learning. So don't remember the year and then event. First you understand the event, and year will automatically fit in. So it is your task to create the major milestone in the Indian history, that is called bird's eye views, and that bird's eye views will be supplemented by some of the factual information day by day, year by year, some of the milestone that will come across while studying the chapters, while studying in the class itself, right? So 1857, you might be knowing there was an intense revolt. So there are many questions coming in mind. What? Why there was a revolt? What policy of East India Company provoked the Indians? What was the nature of the revolt, how it had evolved, and obviously what after that? I told you, this is what your mind will send the impulse, and thereby your adjustment of the subject would start getting into very easier ways. 1857, there was a revolt. Without interest, without acknowledgement, without understanding the meaning for what your purpose is, you can't get involved with the subject. Involvement required. Interest will make the task easier, and interest will enhance your memory power as well. So 1857, revolt of 1857 mark a new change, when East India Company was relieved from administrative responsibility and then British Parliament had taken direct control over India. 1857, India was basically a divided geographical expression. We can see the common Indians were more comfortable in identifying themselves as a Gujarati, Telugu, Tamil, Marathi, Punjabi rather than calling Indians. But after 1857, there are many factors where the national identity, that is calling themselves as an Indian, had become more dominant compared to the regional identity. Again, you need to understand what factors. That India started growing like a nation, the process of the nation building had started. What contributing facts were there? Once you got to know that divided geographical expression had turned into nation, obviously we will come to the region, and region will suffix the thing causes for the rise of nationalism. Indian National Congress came into existence. Look at, in whole course of the 90 years of this period, what we see, entry of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. He was definitely a wonder boy in Indian politics, and types of motivation he had that will definitely enhance the level of nationalism into an era of mass movement. What actually Gandhi wanted, that each and every people should get a subconscious era and it should be transformed into a conscious era in order to integrate itself into the national movement that is called era of mass movement. So for this purpose, if you look at 1915 when Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi came, and till 1918, what a bona fide initiation he made to go for the peasant movement, go for the labor movement, and thereby mobilized large number of peasants and laborers in their favor, in his favor. And then 1918, you will find that 3 years of the Gandhi's activism in India was much ahead than the 33 years of the Congress rule, Congress party. 1885, 1918, 33 years of the Congress initiation for national movement versus 3 years of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. The Gandhian mass base was much ahead. But Gandhi, when he came to India, he had only one understanding: to present himself as a loyalist, as a cooperator of the British rule. Gandhi said, if you help British, British will help you. So this is what the cooperation that Gandhi was trying to present before the British. But at the same time, year 1919, turning year in the history of Gandhi's relation with the British, this loyalism of Gandhi turned into opponent. Cooperator turned into non-cooperator. We will try to find here again what I said, your acknowledgement to know the things would increase. Your level of understanding here will prove that what factor, which is called turning year in the history of Gandhi's relation with the British, how a loyalist turned into opponent, cooperator turned into non-cooperator. You must be knowing there are Jallianwala Bagh incident. What was so emotional dissociation of Gandhi in context with the Jallianwala Bagh incident. Then after 1919, Gandhi made a successful experiment that is called 3 mass movement, non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and Quit India movement. Right? Causes, consequence, causes, consequence. and then we'll come to know about the Gandhian movement. Fine. He started an intense struggle called the mass movement. Then he come to the truce, and then struggle, then again truce, then struggle. STS model of Gandhi. What is STS model of Gandhi? We need to understand. Subjectively, we will analyze what is the phase of his struggle. Truce, rest, assessment, again struggle. Intensity of the movement keep on increasing because mass movement keep on increasing. The mass base of the Gandhi's nationalism keep on increasing, so intensity of the movement keep on increasing. But objective of the movement always remained the same, and that is attainment of Swaraj. Attainment of Swaraj. Attainment of Swaraj. So this is what the test of his strength. When Gandhi was of having a small mass base, he said will not cooperate. He worked, increased the mass base, disobedience. Then again he worked. And thereafter, when he understood that now the masses in India are enough aware to challenge the mighty British control, Gandhi said quit India. So this is called war of position. Rising nationalism versus control mechanism. Control mechanism of the British versus rising nationalism. And Gandhi was very convinced in 1942 that rising nationalism had enough capable to challenge the mighty British control, and then said quit India. This is how meticulously he designed the format of mass movement. So while studying the chronological and sequential ways of history, curiosity, causes and consequence, and your acknowledgement to know the things, because it's a very interestingly the question will create in your mind. And this is a way that you can understand, you can remember so many facts. I told you, don't go for the year and then events. First you understand the events, create the bird's eye views, and then you fill the gap with the major factual thing. This is the way that you can learn the history. Hopefully it would have served your purpose, and the rest of the things we will discuss when we will go in detail, the entire panorama, so that your prelims will be very easier to crack. Thank you.